Welcome back to the NRL Punters Weekly Digest. My name is Ben, and in today's video, I will be answering the question, should Paul Green be the Queensland Maroons State of Origin coach in 2022? But before I get into this video, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel and you would love to stay in the loop of all my content, please make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications. And hey, if you like this video, you like what you see, please give me a like. I really appreciate the feedback, and it also helps the channel grow and helps get the message out through the algorithms and all that other stuff to the rest of the rugby league community. Without any further ado, let's get into today's topic. Now, should Paul Green be the Queensland Maroons State of Origin coach in 2022? Well, I'm just about to answer that question, but I want to kind of give a bit of a for and against here first. Firstly, I would like to start by saying that being the coach, the buck ultimately stops with you when it comes to who is accountable for results. All right, let's just be very clear about that. I think we all know that, but when we're looking at the for and against, let's just keep that in mind. There are only a certain amount of excuses that you can allow before you say, hey, you're not doing your job as a coach. All right? So let's just start there. Let's also talk about the fact that in games 1 and 2 of this Origin series, the Maroons scored a total of 6 points. 6 points in 2 games. And whilst they did win State of Origin Game 3, on aggregate in the series, they went down 94 points to 26. 94 to 26. And if you're asking yourself, well, what's the most amount of points that's ever been conceded in a State of Origin series? I can answer that question for you. It's 94 points. 94 points. Which will go down in history as having been achieved in the 2021 State of Origin series. Now, Game 3, victory or not, he will never be able to live that down as coach. But hey, hopefully he can live with that result and move on from it, as all coaches do. You have to ask yourself the question, though, would the result have been the same if there were a different coach at the helm? You know, if a Wayne Bennett was there, or a Mel Meninga. I mean, we look back to last season where Wayne Bennett was the State of Origin coach for Queensland in a really disrupted season as a result of COVID. We're still seeing some disruption this year, but not on the level that we saw last year. He came into a side, limited preparation. Origin was at the back end of the year. Players were tired. Finals campaigns had been fought. But with quote unquote the worst Queensland team in history, he was able to effect a series win. I don't know. I mean, you got to say that's a slight on Paul Green's credentials as a State of Origin coach, albeit that it is his first time at the helm. But also, I mean, he is a premiership winning coach. He knows what he's doing. Maybe he's just not the man manager that he needs to be for State of Origin. I'm not sure. I'd also like to say that when we're looking at this series as a whole, in Game 1 and 2, Paul Green made a conscious choice to go with Kurt Capewell in the centres. Now, egg on my face, on the back of his performance last year, I thought, well, look, I mean, outside of Dan Gagai, Queensland just didn't really have any form strike centres that were, I believe, to be of Origin caliber. And I backed the move to have Kurt Capewell in the centres. In the end, as good a player as Kurt Capewell is, he's just not fast enough to keep up with Latrell and Tommy Turbo, which was seen in Game 1 and 2. He's a world-class back rower, but in the centres, it was just too much of a task. And obviously, Dane Gagai didn't really keep up his part of the bargain. Egg on my face, because I was also a detractor to Hamiso Tabuai-Fedo being, regarded as being good enough to play State of Origin, at least at this part of his career. Last night, he proved me wrong. I thought he was great. He did the job defensively he needed to do, and he definitely had the pace to keep up with his opposition. And as a result, of my take on this, I'm not going to judge him too harshly on that because, hey, I would have made the same mistake if I was in his position because I was thinking along the same lines. All of this being said, though, in terms of the criticism of Paul Green's coaching decisions, coaching as a whole, there were so many factors in this series that were outside of his control, and we just can't deny that. You know, journos and critics will come out and say, well, he should have done this, he shouldn't have done that. You know, he should be able to manage the team and bring the players together to effect a positive result. But there are factors there that were really outside of his control. Number one, the Ronaldo Mulitano thing. You know, that's a QRL problem. And that was a slight on the game. It was a smudge on the reputation of Queensland football, but that was not Paul Green's fault. That was the QRL's fault. The whole Jai Arrow, I brought a stripper to my hotel room, COVID bubble burst, also not Paul Green's fault. Jai Arrow is a senior player in this game. He's been in Origin camps before. He knows what it takes to win an Origin series. He knows what the COVID protocols are, and he decided to make a conscious decision to go against those rules. And then not only put the team at risk, but the wider reputation of rugby league in this country, as well as the ability for the competition to continue. Because all it takes is one or two of these COVID breaches, these stupid COVID breaches like the barbecue gate we had with the Dragons players, to completely derail the competition. So those sorts of factors were outside of Paul Green's control. And when we're looking at his tenure as a Maroons coach this season, that needs to be taken into consideration. All that being said, I think with better players on offer in Game 3, certainly Ponga wasn't available for Games 1 and 2. I think Munster was under a bit of an injury cloud going into Game 1. I don't want to use that as an excuse, but he definitely looked a lot fitter in this game, and he and DCE played a lot better in the halves. Ben Hunt was a revelation from hooker in the light of all the injuries, you know, that we had in the hooking stocks. You know, Reid Marnie, Harry Grant. Ben Hunt, I've always been a fan of as a hooker, but he's predominantly a halfback, came in and did an outstanding job, as he has done in the past for Queensland. But there was a lot more cohesion in that spine. And I think that last night's result was a much better reflection of what Paul Green is capable of with the right personnel. And you've got to remember, he's also missing some other players there. Lindsay Collins, who for mine is a world-class front rower, and if he were fit now, going into the World Cup at the end of the year, he would definitely be in my squad, and I have no doubt that Mal Meninga would have him in his squad there. As I mentioned, Reid Marnie's out, Harry Grant, some really, really outstanding talent. Reece Walsh to a lesser extent, because he was just kind of a, you know, I don't want to say just a fill-in fullback, but, you know, he was going to be a rookie if he did end up playing in Game 2. And also, there's a lack of general Queensland talent at the moment. It's always been a case that New South Wales has had more depth, you know, in its junior ranks and its first grade ranks. So they've always had, you know, New South Wales has always been able to field, you know, 2 or 3 world-class New South Wales Blues sides. Whereas Queensland has always had kind of the thinner rub of the talent, although in the last decade or so, completely dominant, but that was kind of a freakish crop of players, you know, the Inglisses, the Smiths, the Cronks, the Slaters, these sorts of guys, the Thurstons. They don't typically come around just in one generation for a State of Origin side. You know, that was a bit of a freak occurrence there, but I think the Queensland stocks moving forward, there's some really good junior players coming through the ranks. I think the talent bases will kind of even out a little bit more, although it'll also always be New South Wales skewed. But I think that Game 3 performance should give us hope that Paul Green can coach at State of Origin level and can win a series. He needs some things to go his way, and he probably needs to manage a little bit better. But in answer to the question that this video poses, should Paul Green be Queensland Maroons State of Origin coach in 2022, yes, I believe he should be. I think he should have a crack. Because unless we're going to revert to someone else like a Mal Meninga or Wayne Bennett and go through that again, and yet, who knows, maybe have some success there, assuming that they'd want to take up the reins. He's had a season under his belt. He knows what's expected of him at this level, and I believe that with the right players, staff around him, and the right man management skills, and if he doesn't have what it takes there in that department, or he's lacking a little bit, he should boost that up with some staff that can help him in that area. Then I think he can win the series next year. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Am I on the mark? Should Paul Green be the coach next year? Should he not be the coach? Do you think Queensland can win it next year? Let me know. And again, if you like this video, give me a like. I will see you in the next video.